we talk about mobile devices like the Kindle or like the iPhone, this is really an American and European and Asian phenomenon. East Asian. In South Asia, newspapers, print newspapers sold on the street are doing incredibly well. In India, they've experienced booming growth. So when we're exceptional in the sense that we rely on these amazing devices. Most of the world has a cell phone that can display 140 characters of text at a time. And that's how news is moving, that's how servicers are moving, and it turns out there's still a tremendous demand for paper in a lot of places. And what that says to me is, paper, I don't know that it's necessarily going to be replaced. I would love to see a web-based PDF publication, so that somebody would come up with 3 pages that I can read on my commute, wake up in the morning, I pull down the PDF, I print it out, and I take it with me in this sort of very easy universal format that I don't ever have to worry about running out of batteries halfway into DC. So I'm less skeptical about paper. I actually, God, I'm going to go on a limb here. I think some form of paper will always be with us. The Metro newspapers now that are handed out for free on a lot of major city subways, they're doing really well. So I can't imagine, I read my hometown paper. I'm a technology journalist and I read my hometown paper in print. I'm a journalist, we're all sort of terrified about what our industry is going to look like in 5 years, and anybody who tells you that he knows what our industry is going to look like in 5 years is lying. When we sit around and whine about how things are changing, we don't get enough time to write as we used to, or we've got to write more, or people aren't paying for good news, I don't think that competition is bad, and I think that we should all find ourselves challenged to sharpen ourselves as journalists when we see people doing things faster. If information can be conveyed in a tweet and somebody's doing a good job of that, we should look to see what we can learn from that. Ultimately, I think the market is right in the sense that I trust people to want to know information. I think in all ages people have wanted pop stars and they've wanted real information. I don't think that's, in Shakespeare's age there was bear baiting, I don't think that's any less true now, which means that I don't despair that people aren't paying enough or spending enough time paying attention to good information. I see it as my responsibility to make sure that my information is good enough and fast enough and approachable enough and clearly written enough that they see it as worth their time. So I think it's incumbent on us as journalists to recognize that it's not a bad thing that the market changed. It's not a bad thing that we have lots of competition from people with different motivations. I think that should make us get better and quicker, and it has. I think you've noticed writing in a lot of major papers has changed. It's sharpened, it gets to the point quicker. In many ways it's become more conversational and approachable in a way that it wasn't before, and it's calling into question, this competition I think is calling into question a model that print journalism relied on forever, which was you pull a quote from one side and you pull a quote from the other side and you call that balance and you're done. I think bloggers sort of entering into the industry, and this is 4 or 5 years old, this development now, decided to sort of rather sharply analyze the quotes from both sides and make a decision. And I think that competition is forcing us to do the same thing. So I think it's a good thing. I think that all of the changes that journalism is going through right now will ultimately make us better as journalists, and like I said, I trust the market, and I think the market will figure out what it is that it wants, and I can't imagine that the market's not still going to want some sort of substantive, insightful news.